Starting off the morning on the beach, eating a Panera sandwich. Beautiful day. I like to find time to decompress after work and before poker sessions, so thought it would be a beautiful day to go out, just sit at the beach, have a little breakfast before spending a few hours at the poker room. So, just enjoying life here up in Northeast Florida. I'm excited to continue this poker journey, see where it takes us. I like to come into the poker table with a relaxed state of mind, kind of like Zen mode, and I feel like just hanging out at the beach will definitely do that to you. I sit down at 2-2 no limit with a stack of $200, and the very first hand I see pocket queens in the cutoff. There's 2 limps to me, and I might get 12, and the small blind and big blind both call. The flop is ace high, and they check to me, and I continuation bet for $15, and they both call. The turn comes 3, and they check to me again, and this time I check it back. And then the river comes a 2, small blind checks, the big blind leads out for 25, and I think for a bit and fold, and so does the small blind, and the big blind shows 6-4 for a river straight. Next hand I have jack 8 suited in the hijack, and I decided to limp behind. The small blind made it 7, and we're going 4-handed to a flop of king high, a flop flush. Everybody checks to me, I make it 13, and everyone folds. Next hand I have pocket 7s under the gun +1 and make it 7, get 1 caller, and we end up checking it down, and I won the hand. Next hand I have queen jack in the cutoff, and I make it 7. The small blind calls and the big blind makes it 13, and we both call. Flops ace high. The small blind checks, the big blind leads for 20, and then we both fold, and the big blind was nice enough to show ace 10, so he took that one down. Now this next hand I wasn't in, but I wanted to make note that the most loose player at the table called a pretty substantial all-in with 4-2 offsuit on a ace 8-3 2-club flop, and he ended up breaking out on the straight draw. Next hand I'm under the gun +1 with king queen offsuit, and I make it 7. There's 2 calls behind me, and then the big blind goes all in for 23. I end up folding because it's been pretty tight, and the other 2 players call. The flop is queen jack 3, all spades. One of the players bets and the other guy folds. The all-in player had king queen just like me, and then the guy that was actually the loose player at the table had queen jack, and he ended up hitting 2 pair and took this pot down. My next hand I'm in the small blind with jack 9 offsuit. A player who's been running pretty hot, a young kid, makes it 7. I call, and there's 2 other calls behind me. The flop comes 8-8-10. We check to the razor. He continuation bets for 15. I'm the only caller. Then the turn comes a 9. I end up check calling a bet for 20. And then the river comes an ace, and I go ahead and check, and he checks it back, and he tables king 10. Next hand, I limp 5-3 suited in middle position, and it's a limped pot, 4-handed, and the flop is king 5-2 with 1 heart. The small blind leads out for 7. I call, and the loose player behind calls. The turn is a 4, and we all check this one around. And the river is another king. The small blind now leads out for 20. I fold, and the loose player thinks for a while and ends up calling, and the small blind shows king 6. Next hand I have jacks in the small blind. There's an open to 7, a 1 call, and then I make it 27, and both players fold, and I took it down. I thought I'd get a little more table footage for you guys to make things more interesting. Next hand I'm in the big blind, and I have 8-6 of diamonds, and there's a bunch of limps, and I decided to check my option. And we go to a flop. The flop is 6-5-4 with 1 diamond. I end up check calling a $10 bet from the player to my left who's been drinking. I ended up check calling the turn as well, which was a king of diamonds for $40, which I feel like I probably shouldn't have called, but I went for it. And then the river was another king, and I just check folded to the guy's bet, and he showed king seven, so it was a good fold, I guess. Next hand, I have queen jack suited in the cutoff and raised to 10, and only the button calls. The flop comes king jack jack, and I check for deception, and he also checks it back. The turn is the six of clubs. I go ahead and lead out for 15, and he makes the call. And then the river comes an eight of spades. I bet 25, and he folds, and I take this one. Next hand, the loose player under the gun makes it 7. There's one call, and I make it 27 in the big blind, and under the gun calls. Flops king jack 7 with 2 spades. I lead for 25, and the under the gun player also calls. The turn is a 4. The under the gun player checks out of position, and I actually just check this, and so he checks behind. The river is an 8 of spades. I lead for 50, and he goes ahead and folds, and I take this one. I just wanted to show that I was pretty card dead, and I didn't take videos of all the hands I played, but the ones that I did, most of them were pretty trashy. You gotta be patient while playing 2-2 no limit. You want to play every hand, but you gotta keep on playing your A game, and it's difficult to do that sometimes, especially when you're not picking up anything. You try to rush the action, but you just gotta take a deep breath, think about what you're doing so you don't punt your stack off like a lot of people do. Yep, just working through these hands before I wrap the session up with a few more hands at the end. So after a long time of folding, we finally look down and see pocket fours. A middle position player opens up to 17. I call him a button, and I whiff the flop. He bets, and I fold. Next hand, I have pocket fours again under the gun and make it 11 and get 2 calls. The flop is ace high with 2 diamonds. I go ahead and lead this flop for 15 and get 1 call. The turn comes an 8. I make it $25, and the same player decides to call again. The river comes a 3, and I decide to give up and check, and he checks it back and has 7-6 and takes it down. I guess he didn't believe me. Next hand, there's a $4 straddle. Folds to me in late position. I make it 15. The loose player calls, and the flop is 10-4-4. He goes ahead and leads out for $25, and he has about 65 remaining. I ship it in, and he calls pretty quickly, and he shows 7-4. Flop trips, so that was a good one. Got pretty lucky there. Next hand, I have pocket 8s in late position, make it 10. The small blind makes it 20, and I call. And then the flop is ace high, and he just ships it in for $80 into about a $40 pot. And I go ahead and fold this one. Then I have king queen suited in late position. I raise to 10. The big blind calls. And the straddler makes it 36, and we both call. The flop is 10 high. The straddler leads out for 60. We both fold, and he shows jacks. So I bought into the session for 300. I cashed out for about 115, so pretty decent loss this session, but still up overall throughout these vlogs. You can't win them all, so just keep on grinding, and pretty card dead this time. Maybe next time, we'll pick up some more hands and we won't have second best hand all the time. Alright guys, thanks for watching. Until next time. Well guys, that was a rough session today. I felt like couldn't get anything going. Only won a handful of hands. Whenever I showed some aggression, somebody seemed to have a better hand than me. But that's just how it goes sometimes. You win some, you lose some. It's a beautiful day outside, and I'm going to enjoy the rest of my day. See you guys next time. I think that there was dolphin over there. See him? So I got to spend the end of my day similar to the beginning on the water over a nice dinner with my family and just enjoying beautiful weather here in Northeast Florida. And yeah, I appreciate you guys watching these vlogs, trying to make them a little more interesting for you. So, keep on hanging in there. I hope it'll get better. All right. Thanks again.